Welcome in. I am Kaitlin Pearson, joined by Congressman John Mannion. Congressman, thank you so much for taking time to speak with us this morning.
Kaitlin, thanks for having me on.
So I want to start with some news of the day. When we last spoke in July, Jeffrey Epstein making headlines. We look at today, now into September, once again at the top of our news feeds. Your reaction?
So listen, I know that there's been actions to release some files, some of them redacted, but in full disclosure, what the American people want and are demanding is a full release of these files. We're talking about the protection of children and holding people accountable. So I've signed on to a discharge petition, which is to demand the release of all of these files to the appropriate committees and entities so that the victims of this horrific crime for a long period of time can have some level of justice, and the people who committed these crimes will be fully exposed.
Even before his death, and now especially after so much conversation surrounding this case, what do you think we take away from this? How do you think we move forward? Is it about government transparency? Is it about the protection of the victims? What do you think is the most important thing we should take away from this case?
It's really about all of that, and I think we have to look back to what happened in the Florida, how the Attorney General at that time had negotiated a deal where really there was not the level of accountability that should have been occurring. So, this is where I stand on this, which is we need a full release of the files and full accountability. People are frustrated, absolutely, because they have demanded justice, they've demanded transparency, and they're not getting it. I stand with those people that make this demand, and that's why I signed the discharge petition yesterday.
I want to stay with some national headlines. President Trump, we saw him mobilize the National Guard in our nation's capital, and now those conversations have continued to the city of Chicago. New York has been mentioned in the past by the president as well. Your reaction to the president mobilizing the National Guard in this way, and what you would do if New York became a part of that conversation?
I've always supported law enforcement, and law enforcement has supported me. We need safe communities, but we have trained individuals in law enforcement. This is the job that they do, and we should support them in doing it. Make sure that they have all the resources necessary to be able to keep our community safe. What I don't support is the use of the military in our streets. That is something that occurs in other countries. So the placement of the National Guard within the streets of various American cities, again, is very concerning. It is unnecessary, and we can support law enforcement, and at the same time, we should have our military doing what they do best, which is defending our country. Law enforcement are trained specifically. They understand their communities. I support them, and that's the action that we should have moving forward. I've supported our military, of course, but I've supported law enforcement with a number of grants when I was in the state legislature and actions to make sure that they have the resources necessary to keep our community safe. They are the ones that should be doing this job.
What role do you think Congress plays in terms of checks and balances when we see the president, taking these organizations and mobilizing them where he wants to?
Well, we just saw a court ruling that had already occurred that said that the use of the National Guard troops in Los Angeles was unlawful. I and my team and my colleagues had helped advance litigation in that regard. So Congress should be providing oversight, and that oversight is necessary when the executive branch tries to maximize their powers, centralize their power. It is the role of Congress to provide oversight, also to appropriate dollars, to engage in trade negotiations and develop trade policy. So it's those things that we've seen over and over again, that when this executive branch has overstepped their bounds, that the courts are applying the law, and as a result, what we're seeing is that it is often an overuse and an inappropriate use and an unlawful use of those powers. It's Congress's job to hold hearings, to develop the laws, and it's the president's job to execute those. When he is in violation of the law, our courts have ruled accordingly, and this is another example that we just saw the other day of the use of National Guard troops in Los Angeles being an unlawful act. And that's where the courts have a role to play, as does Congress and the executive. It's about the balance of power in the co-equal branches of government. And when I call upon my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to stand up, I'm asking them to stand up and uphold their oath that they made to the Constitution, not to the president.
So I want to switch gears now to a time of year that you are very familiar with as a former educator. It's back to school time, and you have recently introduced a piece of legislation, the Teachers Are Leaders Act. Tell us about that act and what it hopes to do.
Well, the first day of school is a very special day, and I got to spend it in the classroom for almost 30 years. And then as a state legislator, I got to welcome students on that first day. I'm down here, so I didn't get the opportunity to do that. But in support of our teachers and our students, I have proposed a piece of legislation and submitted it called Teachers Are Leaders Act. And we're at a time in this country where we need to meet the needs of our kids, and we need fantastic teachers to be able to make sure that those kids seek out and find their passion that is rewarding for a great career and also civic engagement. So I proposed and submitted the Teachers Are Leaders Act. This is to enhance professional development so that our teachers can do just that. It's not just about recruiting teachers into the workforce, it's about retaining them and using our veteran teachers to help enhance the professional development of other teachers and therefore our students. This is already a program that exists within the Department of Education. It's a grant program. We want to make sure that we expand it and we meet the moment. And the moment is that our kids deserve to have a high quality A+ public education. That's what this piece of legislation does. We love our schools in Central New York and the Mohawk Valley, and we love our teachers, and we trust our teachers. So at a time where it's becoming increasingly challenging to staff our classrooms, we want to make sure that we draw people into the profession, we prepare them when they're there, and that they stay and have a rewarding career and impact the lives of thousands of students like I enjoyed. Teaching is the greatest profession, the most gratifying profession, but a demanding one. And our teachers, we want to make sure that they're supported so that they can teach their students and make sure that every kid has a high quality education.
I want to talk about one of our local school districts, specifically the Oneida City School District that suffered catastrophic flooding, that high school building uninhabitable right now because of repairs needed. I know at one time you were part of conversations about trying to get some aid, some funding to that school. Do you have any updates for us?
That's right. We continue to engage with the school district. I visited the site, and of course, they had to make a very difficult decision. But there are low-cost, low-interest grants through various departments, through the USDA, and we're going to continue to try to support them and do what works for them and make sure that they're aware of any funds or loan programs that are available to them. So this is a difficult decision. I know that there's going to be extensive renovation at those schools, and we maintain close contact with the superintendent. Kids are resilient, and I know that this is not what they had hoped for this upcoming school year, but obviously the damage was so extensive that there was no way that they could stay at the site of the high school. So they're adapting, they're adjusting. I know that the teachers are as well. I support them, and we're going to stay in close conversation and make sure that the superintendent and others in administration and the school board are aware of any federal program that we can assist with.
And speaking of change, something impacting students, teachers, administrations across New York State is, of course, the bell-to-bell cell phone ban that is implemented this year. Your thoughts on that, both as an educator and as a parent?
Right, so I was an educator and a parent, and I taught before cell phones and I taught after. I do believe that in the best interest of our students and avoiding distractibility, avoiding the algorithms that exist, that for them to focus on their education, having their cell phone away is the best move. So I do support this. There's access to one-to-one devices in those schools to make sure that if a student is conducting research or whatever it might be, that they have access to online programs, online resources, so that can happen. I've also had extensive conversations with school board members, parents, superintendents about making sure that if a student and a parent need to communicate during the day, that they have the ability to communicate during the day, and that is seamless. So I think this is the right move. We know that we're in the midst of a mental health crisis with our children, and there's great evidence that shows that that is directly connected to the use and overuse and abuse of cell phones, the stimulation that comes with it, the algorithms that are very challenging, the distractibility that occurs, the bullying that can occur across the cell phone. So I do support this action, and it will be an adjustment for everybody, but in the long term, it's going to help our kids.
All right, Congressman, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you so much, Kaitlin. Take care.